When it comes to anime, my go-to genre is a good old rom-com. Despite only having a few anime that are romantic comedies that I would even consider personal favorites of mine, it's the genre I generally have the most fun with. Something about the balance of a comedic romance story just hits all the notes that I generally want. I usually don't need a grand ending or character development as long as the cast is entertaining, but what sets rom-coms apart is if they do go above and beyond by really moving the viewer emotionally or having something unique about them to help set them apart from others in the genre. And though I wouldn't say Otakoi personally moved me like others have, it did go slightly above expectations, which helped make it the rom-com that I've been most impressed with as of late, due to it not fitting the mold like most in the genre. What helps Otakoi stick out from many other romantic comedy series out there is the setting and the age of the characters. Most when they think of a romantic comedy will assume high school characters and school-like settings, and personally, I'm fine with those. But this anime is set in the office place with all adult characters, but also the characters just so happen to have their own nerdy quirks to them. Now, what really helps this stand above similar series that have tried the adult otaku approach is how human most of these characters truly are. You look at a guy such as Hiro, and when you have the gaming craze shut in, you generally will think, oh, here comes the socially awkward guy who very few people can relate to. But Hiro actually is a fairly grounded guy. Sure, he is gaming crazed, plays games during his breaks, prefers alone time more often than not when he can just indulge in his own pastimes without the worry of someone bothering him. But they don't design him as the kind of guy you generally see who is so socially awkward he can't function in day-to-day society and completely shuts himself in. Instead, he has a solid job and a small group of friends to which he even socializes with from time to time. Sadly, most anime, when they portray the gaming or anime crazed characters, they really break them down to the worst possible lifestyle, which is the farthest thing from healthy. To which then they will slap a pretty girl in their lap and convince anime fans watching that even if you too are socially awkward and can't talk with people, eventually a pretty girl will fall in your lap as well. Anime really loves to normalize very unhealthy lifestyles and behaviors. With Hiro, he's just a man who prefers to be alone or in the company of those who share his interests and hobbies, something that I can personally relate to. I enjoy being alone and playing games or watching anime by myself, but if someone does share similar tastes, then of course I'm going to enjoy being around people like that. I also have no issues with socializing with people in my day-to-day life, even if I do prefer smaller groups of company. The exact same way Hiro goes about his days. Having Hiro be directed as a loner type character but not overblow his isolation preferences helps set this anime apart from other rom-coms and otaku crazed anime. Then when you look at Naru, the girl who loves all thing anime and manga, you have a similar character but one who actively hid her pastimes from those around her, mainly her boyfriends who always dumped her when they found out what she truly enjoyed. What I especially like is how both Hiro as well as Naru are childhood friends, but they end up in a relationship by the end of the very first episode. You understand they have a history of being friends and logically it makes sense for them to date someone with similar interests as themselves. Anime love to drag the viewer along on the will they, won't they ride to maybe see a kiss at the end of the season. Here, however, we get a relationship in the very first episode, but what's really fascinating is how this ride is a slow burn despite them entering a relationship early on in the series. Many anime fans want to see the romance go lightning fast and see everything there is to see, but romances are complicated and each couple will progress at a different pace. You don't need to hop into bed after the first date like society likes to tell you. Some people will take months if not years to even get to that point. With Hiro as well as Naru, it's a slow burn. You do see them kiss and slowly get to know each other in different ways than when they were just friends, but it truly feels like a real and unique relationship for anime. Often I'm taken back by how similar these romances are. People are so varied and there are countless formulas to use for character relationships, yet 95% of the time they seem to follow the same templates. With Hiro and Naru, it felt like I was watching two real people interacting with one another. Half the time they just felt like friends, which I thought was an added bonus. Sure, many people will be more lovey-dovey with each other, but there are plenty who have a best friend-like relationship with their significant other, but also have more physical aspects to said relationships that sometimes are present. Yes, we don't really get to see those physical aspects grow that much in these 11 episodes, but it truly felt like a genuine relationship growing at a slow but steady pace in a fairly believable way. In the second half, we start to see Hiro really doubt the relationship. As though he has liked Naru for years, he feels like he may not be the boyfriend she truly wants, but just settled for. When they eventually go on a real date, no otaku madness, he just tries to be a normal guy, but by the end they both end up talking about the anime that they watched the prior night. What makes this so sweet is the fact that so many people make these sacrifices for romance that make very little sense. Giving up your favorite pastime just because your significant other doesn't enjoy it, that's stupid. People won't always share the same taste. In fact, you'll often find the best relationships will have some of the most pretty polar opposite opinions in certain areas. But the good relationships, the ones that really last cast have people who just enjoy each other's company no matter what they're doing. Even if you don't like anime or games, spending time with the one that you love while they have fun with those pastimes, that should make you happy. If it doesn't, well, you might have some skeletons in the closet that need out. But you also don't have to do everything with your partner at any given time. It's okay to have your own interests. What I love is how Hiro will read boys' love stories for Naru and give his opinion on them despite having no interest for the genre. He does it because she enjoys these stories and he wants to be a part of what she loves, or how she will hang out with him when he plays games that she might not enjoy. This is a real relationship that has its own self-doubts, struggles, and issues that were so very, very human, and much better than I typically see in anime. My only real gripe is how we don't get that moment to really turn this into one of the all-time great rom-coms. And what I mean by this is when I look at things such as Toradora, there are these moments that really stab you in the heart to really stamp the series into your brain. Here, there isn't such a moment, at least for me. Sure, the characters are all great and each episode was a blast, but because of the short runtime of 11 episodes and no second season as of yet, the relationship is still in the very early stages. I actually adored the pacing of the two's relationship and I wouldn't change that. But because of the unknown factor of will there be more, I can't determine if this will become an all-time great or not. This relationship I do believe will last, but I haven't experienced that moment to really emotionally move me with it. But rather my feelings were these two are just damn adorable and I want to see more. For many, you might want to yell in the comments about how this is one of the all-time great rom-coms because it did so many things either completely new or better than we generally see, but for me, without that big moment to really move me with either the shattering of a relationship to the rekindling of it, or just another aspect to really sell this relationship even more, such as both of them really proving their love for one another even more, I can't call it one of the all-time greats, but rather one of the better rom-coms out there, which is perfectly fine. What I really do adore is how even though with Hiro and Naru being the main focus of the anime, there was a relationship equally memorable between their two friends, Kabakura and Hanako. What's nice is how different their relationship is when you compare it to Hiro and Naru's. The two are generally violent towards one another in public due to their general embarrassment of showing affection in public. Don't worry though, it's more playful abuse than anything. But alone they are fairly lovable. Even sprinkling in some tension with Hanako doubting her worth in the relationship, similar but also different to how Hiro doubts himself later in the anime. Actually having tension in not one but two of the relationships that both feel real and distinct from one another really elevated the romance in this anime quite a lot. It's easy to write fun comedy, but having more moving aspects to the romance sides on top is where things get more challenging. It never goes above expectations to sell itself as being a masterpiece, but damn if it wasn't enjoyable and fairly well detailed. Settings play a big factor in what will make a rom-com work. With so many school rom-coms out there, how do they manage to work more often than not? Well, for me, it's because they play around with the setting, like what club a character is in. Having this be focused in the workplace, but also having a decent amount of real adult locations from bars, amusement parks, to even just their favorite otaku areas, it helped make this cast actually feel human and not as superficial as many anime present their characters. With how the general comedy was presented, it actually felt like my type of humor that I'd experienced with my group of friends, which helped make this a fairly hilarious show each episode. Sure, it has some more gag comedy aspects to its design, but how they would bounce jokes or insults off of one another is exactly how I would act towards my friends, so bonus points there. This definitely is one of the best rom-com anime I have seen, but it's not one that will stick out forever unless it gets more episodes. At least, that's how I feel. Given another 11 to 24 episodes, I think this cast could truly develop into something special and memorable. As it stands, I leave these 11 episodes genuinely impressed with what I witnessed. An anime with a believable adult cast of characters with two very real romances that are distinct from one another. Though they didn't get as much time to flourish as I would have liked, I wouldn't have changed the pacing in any way, as it was nice to see a slow burn romance from the intro stages of a relationship rather than the slow burn just to get the characters involved at some point in time. Though I would really like some more episodes with this current pacing, please and thank you. Even if this is all we get, this is enough development and info for the characters that it doesn't feel like a missed opportunity, but rather an anime with so much more potential that if it can get another season, it'll be even better. Having an anime be great with only one season, but possibly a masterpiece with another, it's not a bad feeling. When it comes to the presentation of the anime, I have to say it's pretty effective. Now, it's fairly basic in many ways, but having the world and general backgrounds feel more normal and plain, it helps make this feel grounded in reality. With nearly every scene having these non-stop moments of comedic shifts in the general presentation to match the characters' personalities or thought process, it was quite effective. Many times the shifts in presentation can feel drastic and jarring in other anime, but because these four central characters were all a little or very nerdy in their own ways, this shift in style actually benefited the series quite greatly. It allowed for their personalities to pop out more than if they were more grounded in reality like the general backgrounds were. But even though most of the backgrounds were fairly normal at times, they did spice it up and have more fun with the color and details, like when they played an online game together a couple of times in the anime. They really brought out some of the talent in the staff and made this game actually feel like a game for their world and not just another anime scene. Often when anime have a video game in the focus for their series due to characters playing said game, it tends to blend in with the general backgrounds you'd normally see in that anime, or it just ends up very, very basic with little to no effort put into them. Here it actually felt unique and very off-putting from their reality, so it's a splendid touch. Each of the character models felt familiar but also had their own touch of originality, even if it was only a sprinkle at times. With Naru, or Hiro's brother now, being my personal favorite in the design category. They all felt like adult characters with their own styles and looks instead of copy and paste random adult character from last anime that we made. The animation may not blow you away more often than not, but it was very effective at elevating the characters' personalities or scenes at hand, and rarely would it dip too drastically. Sure, sometimes they took shortcuts like montages of still frames or less detailed faces here or there, but they were far and in between the good stuff. A great anime will use its visuals to heighten the character writing, which Otakoi certainly did. When it comes to the voice acting, this is where I have to say the sound really sticks out. Having this be fairly grounded in reality, you would expect pretty normal voice acting. People not overreacting just because it's an anime, which usually would result in forgettable voices. Here, however, the acting is actually incredibly well done, as all the characters are memorable and rarely are they boring. To sell these characters as human, real people with jobs who hang out with their friends and get excited over things they might only care about is more challenging than many would give credit for. To sell reality but not be overly dry, I actually think is more challenging than that of a more gimmicky anime role, because you can't go too overboard, but you have to also be conscious of not underselling your character. How characters like Naru felt adorable with her obsessions, but also had this bit of anger to her voice at any given moment, helps set her apart from a guy like Hiro, who may not appear that emotional, but had his own subtle ways to show excitement through the smallest details in his acting. The voice acting is simply phenomenal. With every actor, I felt like they gave it their all while having very distinct voices from other characters in the spring 2018 anime season. Though I will say the OST, it's a pretty hit or miss. The opening and ending songs were fine, but not really jaw-dropping, I found, with the few background tracks that I noticed at times helped the scenes they were in, but often felt like filler, and rarely were they that noticeable, which I have sadly come to expect with modern day anime. Though at least the sound direction in terms of effects was on point for most of the comedy scenes to help make them even funnier than the visuals already made them. Overall, I'd say Otakoi hit all the notes that I'd really want out of a romantic comedy, while also receiving a few extra points for originality in the cast department with how the characters and relationships were represented. Though with its short run time and unknown factor of will this get more episodes, it stands as being a great rom-com anime that easily could become amazing with a second season that hopefully will continue to flesh out these characters. I award Otakoi my seal of approval, a ranking that I give to anime that do more right than wrong and deserve a solid recommendation. Now for alternate anime recommendations, go watch Toradora if you haven't already. It's my favorite anime, so just do it. Please. Be sure to let me know your thoughts on this anime down in that comment section below. If you enjoyed the video, remember to leave a like, and if you're new, also be sure to subscribe. Or don't, it's really up to you. As well, if you want to be extra loving, you can always head on over to my Patreon to help support what I do if you so wish. So until next time everyone, please take care, and y'all have a good one.